Hi guys, I'm Kelly with Mid-Peninsula Moms blog, and today we are here again with our contributing writer and our sleep expert, Dr. Sarah Mitchell from Helping Baby Sleep, and we are talking about travel. It's summertime, everyone wants to go on vacation, and everyone's worried about if their kids are going to sleep if they go on vacation. So we thought this would be a good topic to tackle. So Sarah's going to tell us the 8 things that can really help when you go on vacation to help get your kids to sleep.
But first, let's talk about our expectations, right? We were talking about this earlier about, even the best of sleepers generally don't do so great.
Yes, even if you have the best sleeper and you had the best experience sleep training, go you, by the way, because it's very difficult. But even if you have the best routine and you're really rocking this, going on vacation can really shake things up.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it can really make it hard. So you have to have a good expectation, right? That it's just not going to be amazing, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it's not your fault, and you are doing the absolutely best you can.
Yes.
And we're just here to share with you a few tips that could help you ease the pain of traveling
with kids. Exactly.
And I often joke, it's like we call it traveling and not vacation because there really is no true vacation as a mom with kids. There's a change of scenery and there's visiting people that we love and whatnot, but you're still working, girl. You're still working.
Yes. And we'll take your questions live as well. And we also have a few questions that were emailed in to us. So let's get started.
All right.
What's the first thing that can help us?
Okay, this might be stating the obvious, but take the things that are familiar from home. So your child probably has some sort of a bedtime routine with hopefully a sleep sack, maybe a little lovey bear or a pacifier and some sort of like a lullaby. Cue that it's sleepy time. So you want to bring all of those things with you.
So even if it's a hassle to pack the extra lovey or the blanket or whatever, just do it, bring it along so they have something familiar.
Maybe your monitor too. When my kids were little, this is showing that they're over 5 years old, but this is how much technology has changed since then. But our lullaby player was in the monitor.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Now everything's on your phone, but so we always brought that with us. So we would have that same. And that's the step number 2, or item number 2 is the same bedtime routine. So, maybe it has to be a little bit longer to familiarize her with the space that she's in. And that takes us back to another point is, what is your location? So are you in a hotel room, or are you at a relative's house, or are you camping, right?
Camping with kids.
Camping with kids.
Good luck.
Yeah, that can be really tough.
That sounds hard, but it sounds like it could be fun too.
Yeah, it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, that can change things because if you're, coming into a one hotel room, well, you're already in that environment for a few hours, so you don't necessarily need to acclimatize her to that. Let's say if you're going to stay at an aunt and uncle's house, you might have to familiarize her to the room a few times before.
Or the bathroom if it's a toddler and maybe they want to, exactly. And one thing about the monitor too, we always bring our monitor, even though our kids are a little bit older, just because I like to keep an eye on them. If they're in a separate room and it's in a house or a hotel that we've never stayed in before, I want to make sure that they're okay if, if my older son gets up to go to the bathroom or something. So I still bring that monitor even though they're older. So that's really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the third tip is to be consistent with how you respond to night wakings. And this can be so hard because often we're not in our familiar zone. So
we're out of our routine too.
At home you probably have a way that you respond. Like you wait for a couple of minutes to see if he or she is really awake, and then maybe you go and acknowledge, and then maybe you let her fuss for a few minutes. And what happens is when we're in, our in-laws' house, well, we don't want our mother-in-law to hear our baby crying in the night.
Right, or waking up other family members.
And so often we jump a little bit more than we would at home. And is that bad? No, it's not bad. And it really depends on your child's temperament, right? Like some kids are so much more easygoing and malleable. Like let's say you happen to nurse her back to sleep that night because you're feeling uncomfortable and you don't want to wake other people up. Well, that might be it. That might be the only time she does that. She feels good the next time. But then there are kids that are like, expect that now every night. And then when you go home.
Oh, you did this and I want it again.
Yeah, that could be that slippery slope.
Okay.
And then when you go home, maybe you have to go back to doing a little bit of sleep training to get back to those patterns. But on vacation, you kind of just do the best you can to balance like getting everybody sleep and maintaining your boundaries. It's kind of like look at that. It's like being a mom, balancing all
Exactly.
these different things.
So is it okay if you have to sleep train a little bit when you get home from your trip?
I think you should expect that you probably
You should
will
expect
have
that.
to. Yes,
Okay.
That's a good question.
Okay, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
Just,
That's
you do
just
what
the
you
way
need
it
to
is.
do when you're on vacation, and you might have to kind of go back to the basics when you get home.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
The fourth point is, if you're sleeping in a different room at home, when you go on vacation, try and maintain that.
Okay.
So even the best of sleepers, I remember this vividly with my second, who I sleep trained basically from day one. And when I say sleep training, I just started doing positive habits from day one. She was a great sleeper because my son was not, right? That's how I got to be here. But I remember we put her in a hotel room and she was like, oh, there you are, waking up so much more at night because she wasn't used to sleeping with us in the room.
Oh, yeah, because if you're in a hotel room and the pack and play is right next to you and next to your bed, I mean, they're literally like, hey, Mom.
Yeah. Oh, you're there.
You're there. Can you hold me?
Yes.
I want to get in bed with you.
Yeah.
It is hard.
It is hard. So in hotel rooms, suites are, if you can afford it and it's available, is an excellent option to give you some space. Walk-in closets or bathrooms. People have often put their kids to sleep in those just to keep them separate.
Like in the pack and play.
In the pack and play.
Kind of shut the door.
Yeah, shut the door so that you're out of that line of sight. That's really helpful, and that earshot too. If you can be out of that, I would try and maintain that.
Okay.
And then the next one is really about naps, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had a great suggestion at the beginning about going out to do.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit about this before we went live. When we go on vacation, I try to do all the fun activities in the morning, and then that way the kids can come back and rest and have like a nice normal afternoon nap. I think it's really hard and really tempting when you go on vacation to try to pack your days full of all this exciting and stimulating things, but it actually will work against you when it's time to take a nap, or even they'll be overtired when it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
And so we try to kind of put all that fun stuff in the morning.
Yeah, I think that's such a great suggestion. And it's really all about your threshold for dealing with fussy kids, because you could pack the day,
right?
But you've got fussy kids, and does that, decrease the enjoyment factor?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it does.
For me, it does too.
And
yeah.
Maybe for my husband, it doesn't, and he might feel a bit resentful about the nap. But I just have to protect my own mental health.
Right.
And my kids, do better when they have the afternoon nap.
Yeah. And even with my older son who doesn't nap anymore, just coming back to the hotel room or to our, my parents' house or something, and just having some quiet and downtime can help kind of reboot for the rest of the day.
Yeah. We kind of like to think of it as, there's two schedules. There's the AM shift of activity and then the PM shift of activity, which is after that nap between like 3 and 6. And they always do better than this one, but you always do have to find an activity to entertain them.
Right.
In that second shift, it just might not be that like, Legoland happens at that point. Maybe that's just going to a park or something like that.
Yeah. And isn't it the best time to travel too, like to actually physically travel is in the morning as well?
Yeah. So that was one of the other tips, is to book your flights and all your travel in the morning when everyone is more patient and does better.
I feel like a lot of people fall into the trap. They think, oh, I'm going to book the red eye because my child will just sleep through the whole flight.
Yeah.
And that's really great if that happens, but it's not likely to happen.
It's unlikely, but not only that, usually it's not the proper amount of quantity too. For most, domestic flights, you're just not going to get enough sleep in that time period. So
So it's better to just
travel
waste the day and go in the morning.
Yeah. Even if you have to wake them up at like 4:30, I feel like that's better than starting your travel at 6 p.m. at night.
If you
in
can.
general.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah.
And then so the nap schedule. So this again is that balance between trying to enjoy yourself and also keeping them well rested. I often used to say, even when I was just on maternity leave, mornings were for me and then afternoons were for her. So if I had to wake her up a little bit early for that morning nap to get out and do something, so be it. Or if I had to have that morning nap on the go, so be it. But I'm going to protect that afternoon nap and have it in the crib and give her the opportunity to have that longer stretch.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, because we are a unit and a team and a balance. That's how I like to think of everything with parenting at that stage. And then if let's say you're out and your child does fall asleep in motion in the stroller or the car, try and stay in motion so you can at least get a 45-minute nap or longer.
Okay, so take it.
Roll with it.
Okay.
Yeah, take it and roll with it. Don't wake her up and try and transfer, because it probably won't work, because you're going to be going into a different sleep environment than she's normally used to. And most kids don't transfer very well, even after 5 months of age anyway. So just take it and try and keep her in motion.
Okay. A lot of times we'll bring a stroller. My youngest son doesn't use a stroller very much anymore at all, but sometimes when we're traveling, we'll bring it just because if we're out and about and I see that he's a little tired, we'll just put him in the stroller and maybe that's his nap.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, But sometimes you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So, sometimes we bring the stroller even though, he doesn't really use it that much anymore on just a daily basis.
Yeah, it's another tool in our parenting toolbox, right? Absolutely. Yeah. And then the last one was kind of like, the goal is really just to try and keep them all rested. So maybe they have 4 naps that day instead of their usual 3. That's okay, right? We're just trying to keep them well rested. The more rested your child gets through the day, and sets you up for better success at night. So those night wakings are going to be caused by staying awake too long before bed or not napping enough during the day.
So being overtired.
Being overtired.
Basically. Okay.
Yeah, being overtired causes those night wakings.
Right. And it's hard because they're in a new environment and they wake up and they're like, whoa, where am I? And it's a lot harder than just waking up and rolling over back in the crib.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, we were talking about, with all these tips, it kind of depends. Are we talking about like babies? Are we talking about toddlers? And we were saying earlier,
really varies.
It really varies. And, if you've just had a baby, go out and travel now.
Now, I know you're afraid. I know you're afraid to travel with a 3-month-old, but that is the easiest time to do it because they'll sleep anywhere. So don't be afraid to travel. It's actually harder when they're like 2.
Yeah, I think 2 is the hardest. Once they're kind of like almost too big for that pack and play, either in length or the fact that they're climbing out of the pack and play. Again, the sleep sack is a great way to try and keep them in those pack and play and those cribs longer because it prevents them from throwing the leg over and climbing out. Yeah. But so how do we manage those toddlers? So there's a couple different products out there we were going to touch on briefly. There's kind of like sleep pods or tents, if you will. Phil and Ted's has one. Lotus Travel Crib has one. And what makes them kind of unique is that they're like a pack and play, but they have a door on the side, like that has a zipper, so they can climb in and out or if they want to. But it also means that you can crawl in there and lie with them
if you need to. Oh, right? That's interesting. Okay.
And that's a nice way to keep them out of the bed with you because 2-year-olds are the worst to sleep with because they kick and thrash, especially if you're not used to sleeping with them. And like, I don't know how many times I've woken up, having been in a hotel, like, oh my God, that was the worst night's sleep ever, right?
Yeah.
So the travel pods serve their purpose for that because they can keep your toddler
out of the bed,
and in the space and allowing you to offer comfort by lying beside them. So that's a bonus for that. I mean, otherwise they don't really differ too much from a pack and play. They're a bit lighter, but they're about the same size in general. And it's really, if you can rent one, that would be great because it's really a short period of time that your toddler isn't quite ready for the bed, but is a little bit too big for the pack and play.
So this was my question because my older son is fine now, but there was a period where we couldn't travel because he didn't fit in the pack and play and he was too immature to be in the bed. He actually fell once on the corner of like the little side table and we had to get stitches because he wasn't quite ready to be in the bed. So how do you tackle that in between phase? That's really a difficult phase.
Yeah. So like we talked about those tents,
right?
But also you could put like a pool noodle under the fitted sheet of the hotel to kind of give them an edge before the mattress.
That's interesting. So they don't roll. That is amazing. Yeah. Okay.
If you're traveling with pool noodles, or you want to bring them with you,
or you could just go pick one up.
Or $1 at the hardware store.
Yeah.
And then the other trick we do is like we order either a cot or an inflatable bed from a hotel and we just put it on the floor.
Yeah. Okay.
We fly to Canada a lot, and so we're there for extended periods. So our in-laws actually just bought like an inexpensive IKEA crib that they would put together for the 2 weeks when we came, which was, which could be a 4-hour endeavor with those IKEA products, but it was great because
it was there.
It was solid, was there, and then we would just take the mattress once she reached a certain age and just threw it on the floor after that.
Okay.
And that was
even like a blow-up air mattress too.
Blow-up air mattress.
Sometimes family members will have that, and that will work.
Yeah.
Or you can just see if the hotel has a crib. I get freaked out by that, but I have done it, and you just disinfect it.
I've done it a lot, and I don't
disinfect the Clorox wipe, but it's fine, but that's really helpful if the hotel offers something like that for in between, right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a hard stage.
Yeah, it is a hard stage, and it's not going to go swimmingly. You just do the best you can to enjoy yourselves. Yeah.
Right.
Margaritas are good around 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
They help take off the edge.
That's why they sell them at the pool.
Yeah, that's right. And and I'd had another question about camping.
Okay.
Too. About toddlers and camping, and again, it's like that one's really tough because you have a limited ability to control the light. Okay, so
how do you do that?
So one great product if you're not camping is the Grow Company blackout curtains. They have suction cups.
Okay,
and then a little what's the word I'm looking for? A little edge to cover up. So those are great. Okay. Camping is tough. You're just gonna have to do the best you can, and your kids probably won't go to sleep.
They'll stay up a little bit later. Yeah. It's lighter later.
And then if you have a toddler, again, those travel tents can be helpful inside if you have a big tent.
Mm-hmm.
But also to bring, if you can, like a child's sleeping bag and your sleeping bag, because you think, oh, they can sleep with me. Well, it's 2 a.m. and they're still, rolling around. You're like, you just want them out of your bed.
So it's better to just get them their own, and maybe if it's right next to you, but they have their own space.
Let them have their own space.
Okay.
Exactly.
So we had a couple of questions here, and you can also ask questions live too. We'll be checking that. So what do we do with a toddler we've already answered that, too big for the pack and play but not ready for bed? That's a common problem. How do you manage kids sleeping in the same room? So I can appreciate this one. So sometimes when we travel, if we can, we'll try to get like a suite or the 2-room option, or even if we're at a family member's house and maybe they only have 1 guest room, the kids sometimes end up in the same room. And that doesn't happen for us in our house. So the kids are waving and talking, and we're like, guys, it's time to go to bed. How do you manage that? How do you kind of get rid of that excitement of, oh my goodness, my brother's sleeping right next to me, and that's exciting?
Well, I think it really depends on their age, because if they're less than 1, it's a lot easier to just have separate bedtimes, because naturally their bedtimes will probably be
different. So you put one down first?
Yeah, and then get the other one down. And now my kids are 5 and 7, so since they're about 3 and 5, they kind of have a similar bedtime when we're traveling, and it's painful. We have to dim the lights and play soft music, and then we have to lie there kind of in the dark until they settle, and we separate them.
So you try to keep them separated as much as you can.
One's in one bed, one in the other.
Yeah.
And nothing's perfect, right? Like, I'm a sleep consultant, and I can tell you that it's painful. It is painful because they both want me to sleep beside them.
Right.
So sometimes I will lie in the middle of the bed.
Yeah.
And with one on each side and read my book while they doze off, and then I'll move one of them later so that they don't sleep together.
Okay, so you just kind of do what you need to do. And I will say, after we went away for about a week in February, and the first 2 nights were really tough. The kids were just talking and laughing. And, at one point you look in and you're like, oh, it's so cute, right? They really love each other. But then you're like, okay, they need to go to sleep. But by the second, maybe not the second, maybe the 3rd or 4th night, it wasn't quite as exciting. So sometimes it's just do what you have to do, and it'll get a little bit better if it's a longer trip. But yeah, that's a tough one. So you kind of mentioned this. Should I bring my child into bed with me if he or she is not sleeping? So you mentioned this with the tent, and just now, it's really hard.
It is really hard, and I think that we go back to our goal is just to kind of keep them all rested, and knowing that when we go home, we may have to do a little bit of sleep training. And if we can avoid bringing them into bed, we would try. But if you can't, then you do it, right?
Right. If you can't, then you do it.
Yeah.
You do whatever works.
Yeah, you do whatever works, just knowing there may be repercussions down the road. It totally depends on your child's temperament, right? Yeah. Some kids are like, they get it, they go back home, they go back to their room, whereas other kids are like, no, I want that. I got that.
That was a great vacation. I want that back.
I love that vacation.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. Okay, so you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard that some of my friends use melatonin to help with sleeping while they're away, especially with time changes. So yeah, we haven't talked about time changes yet. What is melatonin, and how can you use it?
Well, time changes.
Or should you use it?
Yeah, time changes are super tough, right? It's always harder coming west than it is going east.
Okay.
So we're in California. Going New York City is not so bad because now your kids are waking up at like 9 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. So it's actually okay. And I would try and keep them on West Coast time. Okay,
so that was going to be my following question. So it's best to try to keep them on West Coast time if you can.
If you can, depending on how long you're going to be there. Because what's going to happen naturally is they'll start to wake up earlier in the day because of the sunlight. Okay. And then you just have to adjust your timing based on wake up, which is why, in my program, I teach like flexible schedules. So your next nap is based on when your child woke up. Because when you get into the fixed schedule stuff, then when you have it gets tricky, right?
So you have to be a little bit flexible with the time change.
Yeah. Flexible. Again, we're just trying to keep them well rested. Now, where it gets kind of crazy is people who are traveling to like Singapore or India or China, and those are tough. Those are definitely tough.
Those are tough on me.
Exactly. We're tired, right? And then we're dealing with a child who's awake in the night.
Right.
And like breastfeeding kids are always easier to deal with because you can kind of manipulate them by like nursing them back to sleep as you need to. And generally, what I find that going there isn't the worst. The worst part is actually coming back.
Okay.
Because it's almost like going there, you're in a new environment, it's exciting, you're probably visiting loved ones, like there's
you're
extra
excited,
fans.
they're excited, everyone's kind of excited.
Yeah. Your mom will take her while you have a little power nap. But then you come back and it's even harder because now where she was waking at 9 or where she was waking at 6, she's now going to be waking at like, 3 a.m. or something crazy. And that's really hard. And so, what is melatonin and how does it help? Melatonin, it cues the body that it's time to sleep, basically.
Okay.
And so, in Canada and the US, you can buy melatonin at the pharmacist, but always consult your pharmacist or your physician before taking any kind of supplements, because this is a natural hormone. It's a natural hormone that's produced in your pineal gland, and it's inhibited by light. So, so dark promotes it, right?
Okay.
So another reason to bring your blackout curtains to keep the light out, that will help your melatonin. And it just signals the body that it's time to sleep. So sometimes, if you're in a crazy time change scenario, it can be helpful at bedtime.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense. You could give it to them and be like, actually, I know you feel like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it is time to go to sleep now. So
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and with the time change too, they say that it takes an hour a day to adapt to every hour of time change. So if you've just time change 12 hours, it's going to take you 12 days to adapt, and then you're either probably halfway through your vacation or it's about time to come home. So
that's tough.
So
you just have to give yourself a little grace and give your child a little grace, because it might be a little bumpy.
It's going to be bumpy.
And also one thing, just as being a parent, not a sleep expert at all, whenever we plan vacations, we always try to get back either the Friday or Saturday so that we have Sunday to regroup before like the rest of the week, the next week starts. I mean, it's really helpful for me, like as a mom, just to get back and get the laundry started and get going. But I think it helps your child too, so that Sunday they don't really have much to do. And then they can regroup before they have to go back to school or to camp or whatever you have, your daily routine.
And the other thing with those long trips or big time changes is get your child out in the sunlight frequently during the day, because that sunlight inhibits the melatonin.
Okay.
Right? So it inhibits it, because they may be like...
So get them out of the hotel room and get them out.
Because you're like, it might be, 2 p.m. where you are, but back where you were at home, it was 7 p.m. bedtime.
Right.
So we'll go out, get the sunshine to inhibit that melatonin from being produced. So and then we all just do the best that we can.
Yes, you just do the best that you can and enjoy yourself. It is summertime. We want you to go and have fun with your family, and just know that no matter what happens, it's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. Too shall pass. Well, thank you. Let's see if there's any live questions here. We can definitely keep the conversation going, and please continue to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. This video will also be uploaded to YouTube, and you can check out Helping Babies Sleep, their website. But thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great summer. Good luck with your travels.